if we just found ways of expanding our minds
Because
and our consciousness.
That's deep, because the system tells us when you hit 65, you should retire.
That's bullshit.
Or you expired.
Right?
But the biggest business that we know of today, like KFC, was started at that age.
Look at the president. How old is Biden? How old is Trump? How old is Raila?
So are you saying they lie to us or
Oh,
something?
they're lying. Don't know. It's,
Or it's a way
and
of
then
filtering people?
And then we read in the Bible. In the Bible, we read about guys who, and there's a lot of the Bible that you could be like, some of this stuff. But then there's kind of like, yo, this guy lived to be like 900 years.
Maybe it's the dog years.
No, but that's real. I mean, I'm like, wow. Why would they make that shit? It's so
It's
of all the shit to make up.
Why would they?
Why would they make that shit up? That shit probably happened. That means
So where did we go wrong?
what we consider to be infant mortality today is actually, that would be, if someone died at 120,
That's
in the
infant
days of
mortality.
Methuselah, that's infant mortality. That is how, and I think what we've gotten so far away from our natural being, who we are meant
We're
to be.
becoming, is it artificial?
We
Every
are so caught up in the shit that we've created to make sense of this world. The money, the politics, the power, the clothes, the cars. We are so caught up.
It's good you have talked about those things. Let's a little bit talk about power.
I don't know where this is going, by the way.
Let's talk about power. Tell us more about power. Because you see, one of the things that even I would like to ask maybe is like, how did you transition from Alliance to what you have done? But at this point, I think power also played in your growing up, right?
Yeah.
And there is a way you view power. And there is a way we need to like review how power should play in how we live.
Yeah. I mean, I think power is toxic, especially the way it's. I mean, power is obviously can bring a lot of change, but when you give power to a human being, in many ways, the people who seek power are the ones who are trying to feel safe. So, if I'm safe, why do I need power?
Doesn't make sense.
Why do I need power? Like, for what? What is it doing for me? So you always have to, even as you, and that's why, for example, today I was watching, I think there's a rapper, there's an actor. I forget his name, but he was saying how the problem we have is people get in power before they do the work. Before you realize why
Is
are
it
you
Denzel
actually
or?
going for that? No. He's actually a heavy guy. He's a guy who's like. Actually, I think the interviewer was asking if Will Smith slapped you, or he's like,
what would you
boss, I don't even want to like you
Think
can see
about
this
it.
is a guy who's like, hey, I know I am powerful, but in that situation, I don't even want to like. He'd even be asking, why am I even in that situation? Like, what's going on here? It's someone who's like, he could knock out Will Smith, but he's like, no, I'm just.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. What is it doing for me? Like, why should I punch you, MK?
For
like,
what
why should I
reason?
do that?
Yeah.
If I'm more powerful than you, why should I? So
You're asking the right question to the right person.
So there's just that sense of power. First of all, can be abundant, and I think that's how even in AT. I mean, you work at AT, so you see a lot of this.
Yes.
Just trying to distribute power. And the good thing is, I feel like we've come to understand what power actually means. And as human beings, we've realized power is the same as information.
Yes.
So the most powerful companies today are the ones that have the most. The most powerful people have the most. Biden knows what the nuclear codes are.
Yes.
Why don't we all know what the nuclear codes are? That's why he has so much power. Because he knows what you understand. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
But
so
now that's a whole different conversation.
He has more information. but you ask about power, and for me, power and information,
Yes,
actually the same. So actually, today it's funny. I don't know why we're doing this today, because today there's so many things that are relevant.
Yes.
I was talking to another friend, and they're building a platform for running an organization and all this, and we're having and I was like, you know what, actually, we are building a platform because we're also building our own platform.
Yes.
Or running and you know, Tilapia.
We're gonna talk about all this platform that we're building.
And the whole idea behind the platform is just radical transparency. Because once there is radical transparency in an organization, then everyone has the power.
Yes. And so much can happen from that.
So much happens from that. The other day during a company meeting, I mean, we presented I think our CFO presented the financials.
Yes.
And he was so scared to do that before that meeting. But then after that, he was so excited. He's like,
so many ideas
people
came out of that.
So many ideas on this is how we can move this number. This is what we can do. So you start to really appreciate, oh my God, then why am I hanging on to this power? Why am I excluding people from what I know about the business or about myself?
Yes.
And all of the power even comes from like people knowing about who you are, where you're coming from, what makes you
how do you
like
make
this.
decisions like
Exactly. So my sense is there's so much power in the world.
And we need to decentralize that power.
Yes, and the people who are centralizing it need to ask themselves why. What does it mean to you as a human being? As Uhuru Kenyatta.
Wait a minute, Sam.
What does it mean to you?
Sam, when you say such
have this
things, I feel like I should ask certain questions.
Yes.
Because I feel if you focus in like doing all this, you can focus and tell us like there's the part of saying we should decentralize things. But if you're given an opportunity in the world with 7 billion people, how do you go about this?
Just make information. So
there's where this question is leading.
And of course, there's if you look at the software industry, for example, the best software is the one that's written openly, where everyone can see. Open source, exactly. Look at Linux. Look at Akka. Look at Scala. Look at all these languages that we use. Java, Homebrew, all these things. The way now companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google make their money is by hiding. You start hiding things, and then now suddenly you have some knowledge that no one else has, right? And that's how you now get powerful. That's how you basically, the less transparent you are. Actually, the most powerful, the richest company today is Apple, right?
Yes.
But it's also the least transparent company.
Yes.
I have friends who work in Apple who can't even tell me what they do. They're not even allowed to, because if they talk about it, like that's
You're
it.
done.
Yeah. So that's why those guys are sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars in cash, when Sri Lanka only needs 5 billion. You understand? Like, what the?
It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
If every Sri Lankan knew that Apple has $200 billion in cash or $300 billion in cash,
yes,
and those guys are struggling to make ends meet.
It's kind of tricky.
It doesn't make sense. You understand? So it's just that hiding of information that for me, and I'm in the software field, so obviously, and I think this is a recent awakening for me, where I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's open source. Let's just share widely, abundantly. Let's build together. Let's tell people how we do things. And then if Africa's Talking's value is that we can manage your communications for you. And you're like, by the way, you guys manage this platform for us. That's it.
That's fine. Yeah.
That's fine. Right? So, so those are some of the small things. And I think the software industry is ahead in many ways in that sense.
Yes.
The fact that there's a lot of people who get to this point and are like, hey, I'm just going to like open source.
Sam, we're jumping the gun. Yeah?
I know.
Cool.
I know. Yeah.
People are like, hey, these guys was in alliance. Now we now open sourcing stuff. You're trying to fly through because each story there is like a whole episode by itself. And we're gonna do this, guys. So don't worry. Sometime when you try to address one issue, another issue explains it even better.
No, these things, they all come from the same. That's why it's good that we start with the childhood, because they all come from there.
But there's a story I know, but no one else knows. How you transition from Alliance to MIT. Look, that's very important, because there is a guy out there. Maybe now that software is becoming a really big game changer in the career, in the way we provide solution. I'm sure there's so many young guys, maybe in their Form 3, Form 2, and they want to actually transition to something that they can build. But how was that transition? Like, how did it happen?
It was random. I mean, my transition was as random. That's why I'm probably not even the right guy to tell you how to.
1 minute.
Because-
there's something you said
Yeah.
some other time. Maybe that recording is somewhere. You guys should
yeah.
find it. About how you are able to, like, propel, and you said you started by number 80 something
Yeah.
and became number 1. By the time you are completing your alliance,
Yeah.
KCP,
Yeah.
KCSE, sorry,
Yeah.
you are number 3 in the country.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about filtering the signal. That was
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. Signal versus noise. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
You know, my philosophy in life is like there's only two states, on and off. That's it.
1 and 0.
1 and 0. That's it.
Try to become a computer science.
No, but that's I'm
But there's truth in that.
yeah, and you can derive a lot of. But once you find the signal, which is 0, 1, on or off, then life becomes a lot simpler. So,
Yes.
so in Alliance, for me, quickly realize that look, this is not going to be multiple choice. This is going to be, give us 5 reasons why. So
Your intellectual has to be seen.
so I basically just summarized, because when you're sitting you're sitting in class and you have this massive textbook,
Yes.
it's telling you all this random shit.
Yeah.
But then you realize what they're gonna ask you is very few things. Like, this may be 300 pages of crap, but really
10 pages count.
you can summarize, right? So like I wish I had it, man. I had this, this massive, I don't know what size, A3 or whatever. So I just started writing copious, just geography, this, history, this. So I had a way where before every geography exam, I could actually go through everything.
I know a guy like that. I can't remember his name, but I know a guy.
Yeah. So that's what I used to do. So just summarize, and really just now get it. But then, of course, by the time I was age 5, 6, my mind was already, I had already trained myself
The signal are like,
on
this
how
is
to.
it.
So yeah. So it was easy for me to even just figure that out. And then in Form 4, I realized, hey, you need to change your handwriting. Because you realize the teachers who are actually making you number 1 in Alliance, they may not be the ones who are going to make you number 1 in Kenya. And I remember my mom came to visit me, I think it was 2nd or 3rd term, and she told me, do you know you can be number 1 in Kenya? I had never thought of it before.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so how do we translate this to number 1 in Kenya? And I slowed down and started writing properly. And in Alliance, by the way, as much as you're number 1, there's a lot of guys who can take that throne. I mean, it's not yours. It's not yours to keep, man. So I was like, how do I beat all these other kids who are equally smart? But then I was like, yeah, just write. So now when the guy is marking my paper in the national exam, I mean, he's looking at handwriting.
Yes.
He's like, this.
Can I read?
Oh, and he's smart. Wow.
Done.
Yeah, done. So that's how I basically, and then now, so those days, I think my mom was making like maybe $200 a month, maybe $150, in today's terms.
Yes.
So like 15,000 shillings. And then I look at, application to MIT and all this, and
Like, this is
nah,
mirage.
there's no freaking way. So I was like, so I'll either do I wanted to do chemical engineering because I liked eating toothpaste.
Ah.
Yeah,
You did eat toothpaste.
I used to eat
literally.
man, that shit was right. Junior Colgate, man, that stuff was.
You had
delicious.
calcium
I
deficiency
used
and
to eat-
fluoride.
I don't know what it was. To this day, I think one day there's something because I used to eat paper, toothpaste.
Like eat and swallow. Just
Yeah, no, paper I'd chew. Toothpaste, of course, man, you swallow it. And molasses. Oh,
So you remember Skariguru?
yeah.
You used to love that
Yeah,
a
I
lot.
used to love that stuff.
Okay.
So I was like, wow, I can actually make this stuff. If I become a chemical engineer, I can actually
Now I
manufacture.
can make my food.
I can make my food. Now, of course, my mom was not amused, so I picked medicine. And that was that. But then in those days, nowadays KCSE is a big event. Actually. I love it. Like there's a lot of celebrating. you know, KCSE and all this. Those days, we used to celebrate the schools, not the students. So everyone used to know Alliance is going to be number one, all this, you know. So that was, but there was no like, hey, you know, Samuel Gikandi. You know, nowadays I see in the papers, man, they print number 1 to number
100,
10,000 or something. And that's good. But I also look at those kids and I'm like, hey, guys.
There's pressure.
You know.
You gotta talk about that.
I understand your experience. So they ranked 3 students in 1999, and I was one of them.
Wow.
And I was like, oh shit.
What
So
am I
I
gonna
went. Then Kenya Shell gave us an award. I think it was 30,000 shillings. I mean, that's like my mom's salary times 2. Man. That's
Like,
that's a lot of money.
You're bowling.
Yeah. Those is actually I was working as a storekeeper. In the owner of Busara, she hired my mom to be a teacher, and then she hired me to be a storekeeper. And I was so good, man. I think when I walked in, there were guys taking care of like them Jengo. There's a guy taking care, not the math. Them Jengo, the kitchen, the this, the that. So I went and I did everything. I kept very nice books. You know, there was even a computer. So I didn't go that. If I had gone there, maybe I would have invented
Something.
But I was so good. So I used to wake up and like, you know, give the kitchen the food, it was hard work. And then, you know, so I used to make like 3,000 shillings a month. So, you know, there's no way I was going to apply to the, you know, colleges.
Yeah, like, how am I going to get there?
Yeah. I remember I got my salary and took a matatu to Nakuru, bought some clothes.
That was a big event.
Yeah, and then I didn't have fare back. So I walked back.
And you couldn't call your mother because there was no cell phones.
What is a cell phone?
Guys, back in before 2000, there was no cell phone.
Yeah. So this was so when I came for the award, that's when the principal of Alliance, really, you know, great guy.
So you guys had to come back to school for the award?
No. So I came now to the Shell Awards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the 3 of us.
Were you all from Alliance or?
No. So there was me, and then there were 2 girls from Kabarak.
Moi Kabarak.
Moi girls Kabarak, and then another one from Moi High School, like Eldoret. Actually, one of them went to MIT with me. So
oh wow.
Yeah. So she actually even worked with Africa Stocking for a short while.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah. So that's when the principal was like, "So are you gonna apply to?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to do medicine. What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, dude.
You need to go out there.
Come to school. We'll give you the recommendations. Blah blah blah. You're applying."
Who was the principal then at Alliance?
It's called Haimba, Mr. Haimba. I owe that man my life. Man. I mean, he's an educator. He's someone who really, and he's had a really impactful. He had a massive impact on a lot of the boys.
Yes.
So yeah. So I applied to Alliance. I applied to MIT, Harvard, and Yale.
Amazing.
I think my Harvard application actually had to cut the envelope because I didn't have enough money to send it.
What? How much did it cost to send it?
I don't know. Maybe it was like maybe like 2,000 shillings or something. Like
what?
Crazy amounts of money.
No other way
actually,
could
it was something
apply.
like 300 shillings. I went to the post office and they were like, you know what?
There were no emails then.
If you cut the edges so we can see what's inside, you can send it for like 30 bob.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So me, I cut the edges. I think that's why Harvard was like, dude, you're applying with like.
You're not.
So yeah. So then they were like, sorry, dude. And then I went about my life actually. So I got a scholarship to go to Strathmore, to study programming those days.
Was that certificate, diploma, or?
It was called like IMIS.
Oh, it's more like a certificate.
Like one of those
kind
certificates. So I used to live with my uncle. I used to live in Kitengela.
Kitengela to Strathmore.
Whole other situation, man. So I know, like, you know, you just get in the matatu in Kitengela with your 100 bob, 40 bob drops you up on stage. You walk to Strathmore.
Yeah.
Lunchtime, you make sure no one sees what's happening
because it's gonna be bad.
So you walk to the place where you can buy lunch for 20 bob, you know.
I understand.
So I actually remember the taste of it. It was good shit, man. It was chapos and stuff. 20 bob. And then I'd take a chance because my brother actually was in town. And sometimes he'd have money.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So he was already working.
Yeah, going to town was like maybe 10, 15 bob or something. Now I have 40 bob. And I need money for tomorrow. So I take the chance, I go to town. If I don't find him, man, it's a problem.
That's it.
It's a problem.
You have to walk back or
Yeah, no, I actually, thankfully, I always knew where he was. Somewhere on River Road.
River Road. So it was,
Dude.
Les is spoken about River Road. And
Yeah, so that whole area, River Road, Accra Road, like that was my.
Was he doing the River Road stuff or?
Don't ask me what he was doing, actually. Unfortunately, he passed away before he told us his true story. So,
A lot of innovation actually comes from River Road. It's only that it's not structured, but I know a lot of crazy stuff.
There's a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah. He used to tell me how he'd have enough money to like rent a room in like one of the hotels and just chill. But I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then he used to give me handouts. So he used to call them handouts. Dude, the guy drops me like 100 bob. I mean,
that's a lot of money.
That's a proper handout. I go to Kitangela, and the cool thing was now, So that's how I survived. But I was just in my own world. You understand?
Just
like,
wanna
me, I was just in my own world. But this time, I think
box.
I was like, whatever happens, happens. And I'm like that today, actually. I've realized that's why I'm even on this podcast. Because I'm like, whatever happens, right?
Yes.
I think that's one thing I really treasure, that I never lost my playfulness.
That's
So
big.
I never lost my
Very
ability
few guys who
to
can
like,
really say that.
to find the playfulness in whatever is
mojo.
going on.
They call it the mojo.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of that is thanks to my older brother. It's the one who's 5 years older than me. Who really, that guy worked
Is
so
easy?
hard to make
Is he
sure
easy
that
as you or?
no, not as easy. But it's because now he was the older brother in a very abusive house.
So he had to play
So he had
a
to
role
be
of
the
a
adult.
leader.
Yeah. So he's the one who actually, and we've had some very good conversations recently just around what that was like for him and how hard. So a very good story he told me that was, just had me, I cried actually. So we used to pick tea. And when you pick tea, man, you get this massive, sort of kegara, it's like this massive thing.
Sort of basket, but
Yeah,
really
it's a
huge.
massive basket, yeah. So some of these guys are picking like 40 kilos. Me, I'm also in the
mix.
in the forest. For me, it's a forest. These three things are like,
because you are
because I'm a
also
tiny
small.
kid, yeah. So he made me a tiny one.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. I was like,
Just for this young bro of
I
mine.
didn't even remember that. But he made me a tiny one. So he's the one who really made sure that I had a childhood.
He would come through for you.
He really came through for me.
Show the love.
He showed the love.
Protect you.
He big time, man. Big time. Big time.
Yeah,
when my dad is telling me,
I have a
"Dude,
brother like
I don't
that,
care."
baby.
Exactly.
I'm talking about
Man,
that.
dude,
Yeah.
they help you stay playful. Because him definitely, he's very like, hey, if this shit doesn't work, he might get into, hey, this world is not.
Yeah.
For me, if something doesn't work, I'm like, okay, next. And I'm very fast and loose with that. Which is also maybe a trauma response, but I feel like it's a default. Kids are like that.
Yeah.
You see how kids play.
Yeah.
They'll turn this book into a plane, and then into a house, into a bus.
Yeah.
And then they'll break it and they'll move on. The thing,
No
imagine
big deal.
the thing that was the house, the bus, the plane to you breaks. Dude, you're gonna be devastated, man.
Yeah.
But kids are like, hey, let's find another thing. Oh, what is this now?
Yeah.
So I feel like as humans, we've really lost a lot of that ability to just be playful.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I survived a lot of my, even when I was going to Strathmore. Strathmore. Me, I was just there. I was a
Just passing
backbencher,
time.
noisemaker.
Back then, you used to wait for 2 years to join campus, right?
Yeah. Actually, you have to. That's
So
why I
you were
became a
like
storekeeper,
spending
and
2
that's why I
years.
was like roaming around.
Yeah.
And then that's when I got into MIT actually. And I remember MIT actually used to send like a telegram. So they sent a telegram.
For the guys who. are
Yeah, for the
qualified.
guys who got in. And
So did you receive the telegram?
Yeah, so my mom,
Oh,
my
back
mom
to
received
the
it. She
village.
told my uncle. In those days of no by the time my uncle was telling me, she was like, he
week.
was like, did you apply to Manchester? And I was like, I did not. But he's like, but you got it. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, next.
Manchester is in UK.
Yeah.
MIT is in US.
And then Yale actually were they really looked for me.
You did qualify
yeah,
for
yeah.
Yale.
So
Why didn't you go to Yale, man?
because Mr. Heimba was like, so when are you going to MIT? So for him actually MIT was just the school that you go to. Like for him, I think he kind of felt that's where I should go.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was right. Actually,
No,
We could have
I
a
mean,
conversation
he
with
is
him.
because look what you have achieved. Look,
No, but dude, MIT man,
it's crazy.
I don't want to talk shit about it. I love that school because a lot of my friends went there. But dude,
Tell us about MIT.
I know.
Tell us
MIT
about MIT.
The best thing about MIT for me was when I landed. It was actually just the fact that it's in the US. Remember those days we used to pay for internet, Actually, the way I did my essays was in internet cafes.
Back in US?
No, here.
Oh, yeah,
Because you had to type up all these essays. And
Why you? And already
why
you have
you,
the
why
grades.
not everyone else? So I had to learn how to type and...
And you are like chicken typing.
Dude. Actually, so I got good. I mean, I had to.
No, right now we can't speak about your typing. It's crazy.
So now when I went to MIT, for me it was actually, I expected MIT to receive me nicely and warmly and tell me,
Because you're the guy.
and give me American citizenship, tell me you're now safe. You've worked hard enough. Here is your job at Google. No, dude.
You are nobody.
They tell you, by the time you leave this place, half of you are going to be below average. Right?
So their work is to...
all the shit that you've done, you're still probably going to be below average. So I spent all of my MIT life, basically worried about where is the class average.
What?
Am I below or above average? To the point where, actually, a lot of MIT graduates today, if you ask them where they went, especially the Africans, I don't know about the rest, there's a shame almost.
Like, I don't want
No
to
one
be
tells you I
associated
went
with
to
that
MIT.
place.
No one. It's not. I don't know. I think that's something we can explore fully. Is it that you don't want to be associated? Is it that
There's some trauma of sort.
you're ashamed that you're so smart? Is it that you feel like you're boasting? Is it like there's a toxicity to it? And that was MIT. I'm sure things have changed. That was MIT 2001, 2006.
MIT is still MIT. Man.
Today, so when let's say you go, you're meeting mamas, whatever. You're also trying to
Were there
understand.
cool chicks there?
They were cool, but
geeky. Nerdy.
like super
Nerdy
geeky,
kicked.
man. Super
Nerdy
geeky.
chicks.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can have a whole other conversation
About that.
But but when you meet someone, you don't say I went to MIT. You say I go to a school in Boston. And if you're very brave, you say I go to a school in Cambridge. Ooh.
So someone
When
is
he
like,
says, a school in Cambridge, that's MIT or Harvard. So you're getting, but you don't say it, and it's a thing. It's actually a thing. Imagine someone asking you, you went to Nairobi University, and you're ashamed to say you went to Nairobi. Why?
yeah.
Why would you be afraid to say I went to Nairobi University for whatever reason, whether it's good or bad? I mean, it's not healthy, right?